Hello, my name's Corinna Turner, and today I'm going to be reading the third part of my novella, Drive. The main highway to Exception City is fairly busy, but flowing freely. They shut the city gates and don't allow more people onto the intercity highways nowadays, if there's any risk of a serious slowdown. None of those tailbacks you see in classic movies. Stationary cars are raptor bait. The highway signs remain blank, and I can see Harry's as bored as I am. I struggle to keep scanning my side of the road. Carol sits and alternates nervous looks around with staring hard at her beautiful nails, like she's fighting to keep from biting them. I turn around to check behind us again. Why do you keep looking back? Her voice is still so nervous. Is something following us? No, there's nothing but cars, I say breezily. It's just good practice to look now and then. Rather than completely trust the highway operators, pipes up Harry. I mean, they're relying on cameras, and they're in a nice safe control room miles away. I groan inwardly. Harry's just implied that we aren't safe. Dad shoots Harry another cross look. Harry bites his lip, sinks back into his seat, and mouths, "Oops," to me. Carol starts leaning forward every other minute to peer in the wing mirror. It's okay, honey, Dad tells her gently. This is your first trip. You can leave that to the kids. They know what they're doing. I'm busy trying to keep watch more diligently than ever when Carol says, "Whatever is that? It looks like one of those big motorhome things you see in classic movies, only mated with a tank, or maybe an old monster truck." I look. We're catching up to a HabVi, or habitat vehicle. Carol's description is spot on. It's something like an old motorhome in size and shape, but the fact that its steel window shutters are all closed for travel gives it much the look of a military vehicle. Well, that and the full turret sticking out of the roof. A small circular room with droppable windows, completely encircled by a domed grille. Our proper off-road vehicle, the one we use for hunting, has a rudimentary turret, but it's just a hole chopped in the roof, with a domed grille over it, and a basic safety rail to stop you falling against the dome and getting clawed. The turret on the HabVi more closely resembles the turret on the farmhouse at home, appropriately enough. That's a HabVi, says Dad. You know, hunters live in them. If you're going to sleep in something while unsparked, it has to be solid. Carol stares at the vehicle as we approach it. Sleep? She echoes, then shudders. As we pull alongside, we can see 3 men in the cab, maybe early 30s. One has his feet on the dashboard. They look bored, but I can still see their heads turning. Left mirror, horizon, right mirror, rear camera, left mirror. They're the closest living equivalents to St. Des, though probably considerably less holy. They live not just out city, but entirely unsparked, earning their living claiming bounty for putting down dangerous or injured carnivores, selling hides, leading hunting parties, or simply taking the odd, more adventurous group of city folk to live unsparked for a night or two and see some wild soars, perhaps for a stag or hen party. One can't help but admire them, though a lot of city folk turn up their noses and question their sanity. But someone's got to cull soars, especially the rogue ones. The HabVi is falling behind. We're still an hour from home. I try to concentrate again. Dad sounds disappointed. The truck is slowing. So is the rest of the traffic. I know what that means. Sure enough, The next highway sign shows a little graphic of a familiar, stocky, upright, two-legged dinosaur, a 0 miles per hour speed limit, and the word stop. T-Rex. You see, stopped vehicles may be raptor bait, but a T-Rex interprets all stationary objects as rocks and trees. In fact, it can barely see them properly at all. In the T-Rex's tiny mind, moving object equals prey, motionless object equals not prey. And since a T-Rex would make short work of pretty much any of the vehicles in sight, including ours, with the possible exception of the HabVi we passed, no sane person's moving until it's gone on its way. All city gates leading onto this stretch of highway will now be closed, but we're already out here, so we're just going to have to wait. Harry groans impatiently, blows out a big breath, and slumps in his seat. But he doesn't actually stop looking around. What's happening? Carol's voice has gone very high-pitched. Why have we stopped? Dad nods towards the sign. Wandering T-Rex, but it's probably miles away, honey. There's only so many places they can reroute traffic, so whenever a Rex wanders too close, several miles of highway have to twiddle their thumbs until it clears off again. It's pretty rare to actually see the thing. Carol seems to be having trouble getting past his second word. T-Rex, she chokes. It can't see us, honey, says Dad, even more gently. They can't see stationary objects. You know that, right? As far as it's concerned, all these cars, they're just so many big rocks. Even if it comes anywhere near here, which it probably won't, it wouldn't be interested in us at all. You don't have any uncovered wounds, do you? No, quavers Carol. No, I do have a cut, but I covered it, just like you said. There we are, then. Absolutely nothing here to interest a Rex. And it's probably miles away, I repeat, for good measure. Yeah, we hardly ever see them, do we, Rel? Adds Harry, helpfully. Possibly a slight exaggeration, but I nod and agree. Hardly ever. Actually, as far as we're concerned, the best thing about a long, boring T-Rex halt is if you do glimpse the beast itself. But somehow I don't think the idea that we're willing it closer would make Carol feel better. Although, if she understood that the presence of the Rex would keep away raptors, she might appreciate it more. No. Absolutely not the moment to mention raptors. Even though we're far more likely to see some of those now we're stopped. Highway sign, guesses Harry, 15 minutes later. Yep, I confirm. Okay, my turn. I spy with my little eye. Something beginning with T. Carol gives a little scream. Oh, not T-Rex, blurts Harry. Dad spears Harry with such an unamused look that he waves both hands in protest. Honestly, I meant that tow bar. Look, there on the truck on the right. Well, kindly engage your brain in future, says Dad tightly, slipping an arm around Carol, who is trembling. Well done, I mouth at Harry. I love my brother, but oftentimes he really doesn't think about what's coming out of his mouth. Harry pulls a face. He knows he messed up, but then his eyes narrow. Rel, he mouths back, and jerks his head towards the front windscreen. A second warning has just appeared alongside the T-Rex alert. A dinosaur on all fours with an immensely long neck and tail, national speed limit sign, with a line through it since the Rex alert is in place, and watch. Only long necks, I mouth at Harry. Harry just raises an eyebrow in Carol's direction. He's right. No need to mention it. Long necks are extremely gentle and very dim. Totally harmless, in fact. Well, you do have to be careful they don't step on you, since a car really is like a pebble to the largest land saw on the planet. So long as Dad has noticed. Harry tugs his sleeve gently. He glances at him, at the sign, then nods silently and goes back to hugging his new bride. Harry looks pleased, clearly feeling he has redeemed himself after his gaffe. Neither Harry nor I venture another round of I Spy, and we sit and quarter the landscape around us in a long silence, other than the gentle murmur from the front, as Dad tries to keep Carol distracted. No T-Rex, no long necks, no raptors, not that there should be, since the highway sign is still blank. No T-Rex, no long necks. Wait, is the truck shaking slightly? Dad! Harry's voice is sharp. Dad looks round at once, following Harry's pointing finger. I've already spotted them. Long necks. Stampeding long necks. Looks like we might just see that Rex after all. But suddenly it's the long necks that pose the greater threat. Dad's already taken his arm from around Carol and started the engine. He peers through the side window, hand hovering over the gear stick. What are you doing? Carol asks. She hasn't spotted the distant activity yet. We can't move. The sign says to stop. It's okay, honey, says Dad soothingly. We might just have to back up a bit to let some big harmless herbivores come across the road, that's all. Nothing to worry about. Unless someone behind you stalls, or freezes in panic, or breaks down. I glance quickly at Harry, but he keeps his mouth shut. They're running parallel to the road, I say. Looking good so far. But the words have hardly left my mouth when the Rex makes its appearance at last. I glimpse it surging up the far side of the fleeing herd. It lunges for an elderly mare, and the herd swerves, huge legs pumping in terror, coming towards us at unimaginable speed. Dad hits the intercar radio button. Cars south of sign 450, move south, south, south. A cacophony of other voices comes over the speaker as other drivers give the same instructions to the cars way back. Dad throws the truck into reverse and closes the gap with the car behind. Slowly, painfully slowly, the traffic begins to move, thick rubber bumpers pressing together as cars use all available room to open a gap wide enough to let the long necks through. They'll take the pebble-free path, if they can see one. Traffic south of sign 450, move north, north, north. Drivers further ahead are shouting, and on both carriageways the cars in front of the sign are inching forwards or backwards. The gap is opening. Big enough for one long neck? Maybe two? I pray it will be enough. The herd is almost here. The car is vibrating harder and harder as the massive feet pound the ground. Lord, protect the people nearest the gap. The gap widens a little more, then the long necks are streaming across the road, necks and tails stretched out as they run for their lives. Carol screams full out. There's the Rex, its jaws clamped around the neck of one of the last long necks. Yes, the old mare. The poor creature is struggling onwards, fighting to take each step, but it's clear the battle is almost lost. She's almost come to a standstill. As the other long necks stream away, the Rex heaves. The mare falls with a thud that makes the car bounce on its suspension, its huge body obliterating the central barrier and one of the foremost cars. Dad, Harry and I all wince. Lord willing, their roof was really well reinforced, and they'll be dragged out from under there alive. But I doubt it. The Rex is on top of the long neck now, holding it down with its weight as it bites again and again. When the long neck's feeble attempts to get to its feet cease, the Rex begins to feed, oblivious to any remaining faint struggles from its dinner. Dad blows out a breath. Well, that could have been worse. For us, he adds soberly. But it looks like we're going to be stuck here for a while. Sorry, honey. We've never had anything like this happen before. Here was I hoping we'd have an uneventful first trip. Carol throws her arms around his neck and bursts into tears. I can't help exchanging a look with Harry. Carol may be the nicest person alive, for all I know, but she's as wet as a lettuce. I tense. Silently, another notification has flashed up onto the highway sign. A smaller, skinnier, upright silhouette. A minimum speed limit, 50 miles per hour. The word drive. With the exclamation mark. Only one species gets the exclamation mark. And tomorrow I'll be reading part 4, so I hope you'll join us again. Thank you and God bless.